Well, my name's Dustin Berg. I love the outdoors. That's something I've always loved. I've always loved backpacking. I've always loved being out in nature, being around water. I love fishing, snowboarding, rock climbing, hunting. I just love being outdoors. Life before my injury was pretty average. I was going to school, I was working. In my free time, I was snowboarding, I was fishing, I was hunting, hanging out with friends, camping, backpacking, traveling. I was in college in 2003, and I was going to school to be a civil engineer, and I had a motorcycle. I was in kind of a freak accident. A truck turned in front of me, and I couldn't get around it, and so I was in a pretty catastrophic accident, which caused my spinal cord injury. I got a T7 spinal cord injury, along with a whole lot of other broken bones, collarbones, shoulder blade, 8 broken ribs, punctured lungs, broken wrist, shattered my wrist, barely survived. After my accident, I woke up in the hospital. I had really no idea what was going on. It took several weeks before I kind of came to realizing just how bad that accident was and how bad my body was torn up, broken. When my injury happened, I was 19 years old. My body was in so much pain. My back was broken. On my legs, I couldn't feel anything. Excruciating pain. I couldn't roll over. It was just absolutely terrible. After I went through, just the initial catastrophe, they got me into a brace, a kind of a turtle shell type brace that, stabilized me so that at least I could get up out of bed and into a wheelchair. I realized immediately that I had a monumental task in front of me to try and regain any semblance of life. Even trying to think back on it now, it's just amazing to think that your body can actually recover from something like that. Because in the very beginning, I was not so sure that it would. I dealt with a lot of pain. I did realize, though, pretty early on that I did not like the way pain medicine reacted with my body, the way it clouded my mind. And I knew that if I was going to overcome this, situation that I was in, that I would need a clear mind. I would need a strong mind. And so I stopped taking pain meds as soon as I left the hospital and just tried to muscle through the pain. And I think it was a good decision. Going back to my life and trying to regain my, life outside of the hospital after 3 months in the hospital was pretty wild. I went back to my mom's house. Luckily, my brother had kind of helped do some modifications to make the bathroom a little more accessible. It was an exhausting experience for me and for my family. I know that it was terribly traumatic for them as well, trying to help me with the most simple things like taking the shower and going to the bathroom. And there was nothing but hard work ahead of me. And I knew that, but I saw other people that had, overcome this situation. So hard work is just what it was going to take. And that's just the bottom line. So that's what we did. So when I was in the rehabilitation hospital, I met a couple other people that were peer mentors, and they were in wheelchairs and had spinal cord injuries 10 years prior. I saw them showing up at the hospital with their own vehicles and doing these things independently. And that meant a lot to me to know that you can regain your independence. And so I appreciated them tremendously. Relationships changed, I guess you could call it, organically. Just as much as I didn't know how to deal with my situation, other people didn't know how to deal with my situation either. None of us asked for something like this to happen. Never did we prepare for something like this to happen. Yeah, we had to rebuild kind of relationships as far as being open and honest and asking questions and, offering our support to each other. One thing I've always seen is people take offense to people offering to help them, and I appreciated it. I appreciate that people are trying to help. It took me definitely a couple years to adjust. 1 year later, after the accident, I was able to start, driving, going back to school. I actually went back to work. 1 year was a pretty big milestone. 2 years was even bigger because I had regained a lot of my strength. I actually started going back to like camping and stuff with my friends. When I got back into doing things that I love to do, mentally, I was stronger than I was before. The experience strengthened me as a character. The determination that it took to get to this point, to live 3 years through this accident and through the chaos and get to a place where I'm going back to work. I'm trying to get a girlfriend. I'm fishing. I'm camping. I'm doing these things. I'm out here engaged, you know. So after I got out of the hospital, I went back to school to be a civil engineer. I realized I did not want to sit at a desk. I was already sitting down too much. And so I dropped out of school and I focused in my free time on building a nonprofit organization and also worked for a couple other nonprofits. So I got some exposure and some experience on how that end of things worked. About 10 years later, I wanted my son to see that I valued the importance of education. So I went back to school and then I finished my degree, but in business. And business would help me because I started doing contracting and working as the executive director for the nonprofit. For me, the next thing that I'm looking forward to is, you know, I started a nonprofit in 2005 called Go Unlimited. And that was a couple of years after my accident. And it was really just out of necessity to build something for people with disabilities like myself to go outdoors. And we've been doing it for 16 years and it's grown into this, you know, pretty big organization. Just, I love doing it. We got into off-road hand cycling. We're doing 45 miles a day on dirt trails. And I can't wait to see what we're going to do with that. I've got a 14-year-old son. I'm married. Last year we went to Yosemite and Bodega Bay and Death Valley. And we did this big road trip and visited my brother up there in Northern California. And next year we're looking at going to Yellowstone. So I'm looking forward to the family stuff. When we come out of the hospital or when we're a new injury, of course we want to walk again. And of course that's your number one goal. And for me personally, I didn't know how long do you hold on to that goal? I still have it as a goal, but it's not at the top of my priorities of to-dos. Nowadays, what's more important to me is my family, my work, my friends. This is what I have. This is the life I have, and I'm grateful to have it. And so I'm not going to sacrifice what I have because I'm so focused on something that might not ever happen. If you're newly injured, I never try to downplay it. It's super rough. Rough is an understatement. There's not really a word to capture what a shitty situation this is. But it is like that in the beginning. And work hard, try and get your muscles back. Don't get addicted to anything, pain pills especially, because you're probably being exposed to them. And good things will happen. Try to focus. Try to think of what you want to do. Where do you want your life to be? Like, how can you make that happen? Take it one step at a time. One thing that I told myself in the very beginning was that I have an option. I had kind of realized that, hey, you know, there are things that I can do. Like I can draw. I can, I could learn to play music. I could be a better video game player. The list of things that I could do could go on and on and on. Or the list of things that I can't do could go on and on and on. And it's just, which list are you going to focus your energy on? And which list are you going to write with your life?